This is the second lecture video for our lesson 4. We left off beginning our conversation about the curriculum framework, which is depicted as an umbrella on page 21 in your Blended Practices textbook. So what I wanted to point out in this particular figure 2.1 is that the umbrella actually is the framework that includes assessment, scope and sequence, activities and intervention, and progress monitoring, or it can be thought of as ASAP. And these are the 4 pieces that a high-quality curriculum framework would include, those 4 elements. This visual depiction with using the umbrella is very appropriate because it represents all the elements of the curriculum framework, but also that they are linked together, and you need all of the pieces in order for this umbrella to keep you dry. And also, pay attention to the clouds up there and the fact that the piece that you hold on to of the umbrella is all about collaborative planning. In this section of your chapter, you're also going to want to pay attention to the 3 characteristics of a high-quality curriculum framework. Look for that, fill in these blanks, and know the answer to that question. Also wanted to point out a few curriculum frameworks that your authors discuss, and one is APES, which is AEPS, stands for Assessment, Evaluation, Programming System, and the Creative Curriculum, followed by High Scope. Those are 3 really popular, often used curriculum frameworks. And the last piece I want to mention is that we also have some curriculum approaches. They're not really considered a framework, but these would be ones that include Montessori and Reggio Emilia. Perhaps you're familiar with either one of those terms, so be sure to cover that part of the chapter and understand what they're talking about there. All right, we are ready now to switch to conversation about Chapter 3, which the topic is identifying outcomes for children. Starts out again with a little case study about Miss Maddie. So in your assignment link, this is your 3rd part, or is it your 4th part? I'm not sure. It's actually the 4th activity that you do. Answer these questions, and then you are ready to submit. I hope you've been saving your drafts as you move along. So a few comments about common outcomes. This is a set of standards, and oftentimes following a set of standards, we're looking at the scope and sequence. So what are the topics to be addressed or to be taught, and then in what order? Often we think about our outcomes as characterized by what age, and we're talking about developmental age here. What is the content, and then what is the developmental area, such as social, emotional, language, etc. Our outcomes are usually designed to help us prioritize, to organize and prioritize what we should be working with our children, what topics, how we should help them learn, and again, looking at their age, which equates to their developmental level when we're talking about kids this young. We have a slide here which is an awesome collection of links for you, very handy. The Early Learning Standards, which are the state of Illinois, developed and posted by the Illinois State Board of Education. We have the Head Start Outcomes Framework. We have Special Education Outcomes, and then we have Common Core State Standards. So a collection of information for you there. Thinking a little bit about targeted outcomes, when we talk about we're thinking about children that are struggling with the common outcomes that would be expected for all kids, and or when their learning or development has seemed to have stopped. So this can be for individual kids or small groups. And then how do you know that it's appropriate to have a targeted, individualized or small group outcome? We know this through our formative assessment data. So remember when we looked at the umbrella and assessment was the first piece of that ASAP? It is important. And then what are the targeted outcomes? So page 49 and 50 of your text discuss the components of the complex skills and then concurrent skill development and what that looks like. The authors have also written about generalized use, adjusting and adapting, and then latency. So Are children responding to requests too quickly or too slowly? What is the latency? And that impacts their learning and their ability to learn. So look at that part of your chapter. And then, what do I teach? What do I do? Look at table 3.2 on page 49 and 50. Can give you some answers to those questions. The last topic I want to talk about is individualized outcomes. And for this topic, you want to think about, for each outcome that you write, for the individual child or small group, can this outcome be measured? Can you assess this outcome to determine if indeed the kids are learning this, or how well they're doing at their learning? Is this a functional outcome, an expectation? Is it needed for children's growth and development at this phase of their life? And then, can it be generalized? Is this a skill that can be used by this child in multiple settings throughout the day? And then addressability, which is a really strange word. So can a variety of adults address or teach this intended outcome to a particular child or small group of children? So how addressable is this? How appropriate is this to be taught by a variety of adults in your learning setting? That is the end of our lesson 4. So hopefully you've been working on those assignments as you move through the PowerPoint, or you're going to go back and work on them now. Don't forget to keep your eye on the schedule, thinking about getting your observation completed and beginning to write the papers that go along with that observation. So we'll talk more again. Have a good day. Bye.